Bob Richey, Rchey. Good. All right, man, what a college basketball game. There won't be 5 better in the country today, and I got a lot of respect for Justin and just how he's built that program and their players and how good they are and their staff. That's just 2 wars, the last 2 times we played, and we've made one more play, both times, but it's been blow for blow, hit for hit, and it's just 2 teams that really want to put everything on the line and go out there and get a win. And I thought it was a great effort by them coming out of halftime. They were the aggressor, and we took some bad shots, but they forced us into them. And they got back in the game. When we start taking the bad shots, they got in transition, which Woolbright's about impossible to stop in transition. And you got to have better shot quality, and you got to have ball security against them. I think we took 4 bad shots first 4-minute game in the second half. But they got the energy, they got the momentum, and for a little while it felt like they were in control of the game. And I thought our offensive rebounding was huge. And I think this is now 10 of 11 games we've gotten 12 or more, and none bigger than tonight. We're down 4, A-Will gets that one, and then we're down 2, and Ben gets that one. And that got the crowd back into it, reset the game. And but man, it's not like Western stopped. They went blow for blow. And I thought Marcus's 3 was one of the best possessions of the second half. We got some movement. We got it side to side. Got the ball in the paint, kicked it out. And, man, it's just great seeing him back out there, And then, we make the plays that we need to make late. They were making plays. We were making plays. JP scores. Then we go up 3. And then, we tag on that ball screen, which, it's something – it's the right default play in that situation. We probably need to stay out a little bit more. But you know what? Campbell hit a huge shot. And, tie game and 17 seconds to go. And I had a play ready that we haven't shown yet if we needed a game winner. And I got to the huddle, and we had gone small, the last 7 minutes. And I said, well, we're just going to put this ball in JP's hands and let him get us home. And, man, it was eerie similar to Tulane, just the whole thing. And, I think that I told the team tonight in the locker room, it's the beauty of sport. Like sometimes hard can feel like it's caving in on you a little bit. But now this team's won 4 in a row. And, hey, listen, I think you can see it. Like these guys are playing, and these guys are playing more connected. I think they're trusting each other more. I think the defensive effort's up. And it was just almost like a eerie similar, like JP hits the shot, and they go .8 on the clock, which was the same time as a Tulane game. And, this time I trusted my conviction on it. We played it with a center fielder, and we've talked about it so much. Don't have anybody inside the arc. Use that as an electric fence. If they throw it over your head, let them shoot a layup, ball game. And we got the deflection, and it was ball game. And I think that was one of those little – sometimes the game can reward you, and sometimes sports can teach you, And I think that was one of those little funny moments. I mean, in New Orleans, I'm in my hotel room that night, and I'm just kicking myself, and I'm just like, man, I can coach for 30 more years. I might not see another full court .8 up 3. And I'll be darned if we didn't have one tonight. And, I think that was a good Lord just saying, hey, listen, just keep moving, right? Just when you get in hard moments, like just keep learning, just keep growing, keep fighting. And to see them go from .6 and to throw .8 back up there, and to see our team have confidence exactly how to play this, and then to see them be able to celebrate, a huge win tonight. I thought it was a nice little bonus for a heck of a ball game. Best defense of the year for us, in terms of, it's for sure in the league, outside of the other night at VMI. But in terms of .94 defensively versus them is outstanding, and they guarded us great too. We were just a .98 on offense, so they guarded us well. We guarded them well, and again, we made one more play. But hats off to Justin, hats off to Woolbright. I thought he played a tremendous game, and they had some guys really step up and make some shots around it. They played with a ton of swagger and a ton of confidence, and it was a heck of a college basketball game.
Coach, it's funny it was so similar to Tulane, because I'm going to harp back on some stuff early in the season when you might hit an offensive lull and it led to bad defense maybe. And now I thought the other night at VMI, you're in control, but you go over 5 minutes without a point. The mine went over 5 minutes without a point at the same time. Today, you got that cold second half, and Western, got the lead on you, but it wasn't like they were getting easy buckets at any point. And I thought your defense held its ground and made you, help keep them right there at bay so you could come back again. It seems like, that was a hump that this team has gotten over as the season progressed in terms of one affecting the other.
It's a word we used a lot last year, calloused. And, if you let the hard build you, it will. But if you let it break you, it will. And I think we've had to learn a ton, in December and through the non-conference portion of the schedule. And getting guys back, I think you got some guys I think Mark is just thankful to be out there. He played so hard tonight. Just what he had to do on Woolbright and, the talking in the huddles and trying to figure some things out. And just Marcus was so engaged in the defensive game plan tonight, and I thought JP, his voices in the huddles, it was just, hey, just keep pressing, right? Just keep pushing. And in big games, that's what you have to do. You can't let the emotion of the game when it starts getting away from you get you discouraged or disappointed to where it takes away your fight. And I think we dealt with that some in the early part of the year. We were letting not making shots or not scoring individually affect our defensive performance. And tonight, we had to sit down. And again, even if you sit down on them, they're going to put you in some tough spots. And then you got to be able to answer. And I think that's what mentally, I think you had two teams that were ready for a fight. They knew what it was going to be. And it was a treat for any fan in the building today.
I hate to belabor after a glorious win, but I thought, particularly at floor level, which I was at, you see so much competition, so much. How badly Marcus wanted Woolbright and vice versa, and all their players. People wanted JP, and so I wonder if that 5-minute dry spell at the start of the second half. Your offense is a thing of beauty to watch when everything is unforced, and it looked like to me it got into a little bit of man-to-man confrontations that took away from it.
Yeah, if you see what they do, a lot of teams are going to drop coverage. Everything trickles down from the NBA. So, for years, hedging, icing, or down it, or, hey, switch it. Well, now all of a sudden in the NBA in the last 5 years, you've seen a lot more drop coverage. So basically, hey, listen, let's pull the big all the way back, okay, and let's just play the ball screen 2-on-2. That way we don't have to tag the roller from a corner, and now shooters aren't getting loose. And now, hey, the big's just going to keep dropping back, keep the ball in front, keep the roll in front, and now make a guard make a play at the rim. Well, they've taken another step. They just sit him literally almost at the charge circle. And they basically just let your fives go hand off, and they chase everything into that drop. And so, to be successful at it, you got to be able to go make some plays at the rim and get some fouls, or you got to be able to drive, cut, kick. I didn't think we cut well enough tonight. I think you can still manipulate it a little bit with some good cutting. I thought we always came handoff. But what ended up happening is when you come off and that guy's dropped so far and that guard's chasing you, you feel like you're open on all those pull-up twos. And then their bench is down there cheering because you took them, because they understand the math on it, right? Like, I was talking to an NBA GM this week, and basically from 4 to 10 feet in the NBA, okay, not the SoCon, not from the NBA, it's 39%. Okay, so when you think about that, right, the best players in the world, 39%. Well, if you shoot 10 of those shots, right, then basically you're getting less than 8 points off of those 10 shots, right? And so the numbers over time pan out to the defensive favor, and they're getting us off the three-point line, and they're getting us off the rim and the free throw line. And if you look at the film right after halftime, we took 4 of those. And it started, A-Will took the first one. I think then Mark took one, and then JP took one, and then we took another one. Well, all of a sudden now, I don't think we made any of them. Carter took one late, and they're running, and it's the best thing they do. So it's a little bit of a double-edged sword. And so what you have to do is you got to pass up good for great, right? And then you got to know, like, at times we need certain guys to keep them honest. And you just want to be decisive. I think JP hit one, PJ hit one in the first half. Come off, rise up, and shoot it. But when you kind of get in there and you sputter and you're kind of like, hey, what do I do? Do I shoot it? Do I pass it? Oh, runner. Mark hit one in the second half, but he got right to the logo and he shot it. And I think that's something that we've got to be better at, when we play them game 2. We got to be more decisive on that intermediate. And, I thought they baited us into some tough ones, that we don't necessarily practice. And, it's just playing the numbers. And I thought in that lull there, we got caught in that a little bit. And we went small. We kind of had no choice. Tyrese had a bad ankle. He was done. And they were playing at 5 at the rim. And we decided to go small. And I thought we loosened it up there. And Alex Williams and JP basically made some tremendous plays. And Marcus did as well. Really our whole team did to be able to fight out a win like that.
Can you talk about just the versatility of Alex Williams? I know he'd hit like 15 to 22 threes coming in for the last 3 games prior to tonight. And that shot wasn't falling for him, but he did other things that made him, to me, one of the more versatile players in this league. He drove it. He got on the offensive glass. Can you just talk about how he's changed his game from maybe last season to now?
Well, I think we've tried to get him to buy into that versatility. And, Nico Medved, the guy I work for here, head coach of Colorado State, one of my closest friends, but he and I play very similar. We got a lot of same beliefs. And, they had a guy, David Roddy, that got drafted and, was at Memphis, and he played with him 2 years ago. And, Nico used him in a way at the 4, but also would go small with him at the 5. And, I've told A. Will, I'm like, hey, man, like, you're a SoCon David Roddy. Like, like, you can do it. And, I think he's understood, especially seeing Slauson, how I used him at the 5, and Slauson loved it. A lot of times guys hear that and they think, oh, that's a bad word. But the game's so spaced that, like, today, okay, yeah, you're going to go play the 5, and you're going to set ball screens and pop, and you're going to go make plays from the middle third. He's strong enough to defend 5s on the other end. And, he's 240, you know what I mean? And he's just strong, and he can get off the floor quick. And so tonight, what you saw is he started driving those switches, and he started finishing at the basket, but he also got some huge offensive rebounds down there because he's quick off the floor. And, I think sometimes players are hesitant but a lot of times the game's a chess match, and they were doing a great job by dropping, and that was what we had to do to figure out a way to win the game. And, if you fight that, and I don't want to do this, but I think they saw how I would use Slauson in that area. And, we haven't played with it a whole lot in games. We did it late in the VMI game just to kind of get a few reps at it, knowing that we might have to utilize it today. But don't be surprised if that's something that we continue to take a look at certain times, because the league has gone heavy drop. And, we've seen it the last 3 games, and, we'll continue to see it more.
Coach, I don't think it obviously will, but the final 3-pointer from JP shouldn't overshadow all the plays that came in that final minute. You mentioned Foster. That might be your best possession of the game when Foster hits the 3, time expiring on the 3 on the shot clock. But Woolbright comes down and answers for them, and then JP with time running on the shot clock again, he makes that left-handed layup, and just spins it perfectly. That's thousands of layups, thousands of left-handed layups on that same, right? That's how that goes in, right?
Yeah, it's just practice. That's just work. And, listen, JP's grown up so much, and I think if he was sitting here, he would tell you it hadn't necessarily been easy. But his process in the last 2 weeks has elevated even more. And, in terms of how much he's in here and in the mornings and with Coach Warner shooting, with Coach Parker shooting, in Coach Parker's office watching film, and with me watching film, he's really taken another jump there. And that's something we preach in terms of program, like trust your process. And if you have a great process every day, at some point it's going to pay off. And, I think he was frustrated, obviously cramping, early in the second half. But for him to get that rest and to be able to play those last 8 minutes like that, JP's a warrior and he's a fighter. And, I think obviously coming in and replacing those 2 guys and being put in the limelight, that's different than people expect. And in today's world, right, in the social media world, and everybody having opinions, what I've been proud of him lately is, he and I were up here late Thursday night together for a while. We were in here yesterday before, after practice. He really cares, and he's really fighting, and he's really having to figure out, like, hey, this leadership and being the guy, that, hey, I've got to put this thing on my back, from a vocal standpoint, right, from a leadership standpoint. I think he's just starting to embrace it. And, I think you don't always know when your payoff's going to be. He and I met but the night before the Chattanooga game, and I told him that. And obviously the next day it wasn't the payoff we wanted. But today, hours and hours of work and the mentality to stay engaged in the game and to not get discouraged through the cramping and really just doing a magnificent job playing aggressive, right? I mean, I want him aggressive. Y'all been around me long enough. Like, I love guards that can create. I think they're really, really hard to guard, and especially if you can put them in space and you can get ball movement and you can get them on closeouts. And, I thought tonight he really looked for his opportunities to make those aggressive plays, and then when they weren't there, to get the ball out and get off of it. And I thought he rode that balance really well. And, look, I know, hype's been on other players. I get it, and we don't worry about all that. But, like, JP is going to be just fine. And, we saw tonight how good JP Pegues is, and we're going to keep seeing how good JP Pegues is. And we saw tonight how good Marcus Foster is. We saw how good A. Will is. We continue to see how good Carter is, right? And, like, our players are continuing to get better. And even Ben, Ben tonight with the huge offensive rebound just came in. And then how about Coop's dunk? Just that type of play that, we don't have a guy that can make those type of plays above the rim like that and gives us extra dimension. And so, just proud of our group, thankful. And, it hadn't been easy, but I think that's what makes it rewarding. And we got to keep finding joy in the journey. And this is where we are in the journey. We're 4-2. We've won 4 in a row. We look like we're taking shape of what we thought we were going to look like. And there's still ways that we can continue to get better. And I think if we just trust that and we rest up tomorrow and we come back in on Monday, we have that spirit of how do we attack that day, then we just keep pushing this thing out. And, we go from there. It was a year ago today, we lost to Greensboro here, and we were 4-2. And so, we had adversity with that group too. Like, we all kind of forget that. It was different adversity. It was different times and different things. But we're sitting here a year ago today, and we're talking about losing a 13-point lead in the last 10 minutes of the game and losing in overtime. And every team has to grow different. Every team has to learn different. But the reward is when you start seeing it come together and when they start believing in the way that they have to go win together. And I thought you saw that on display tonight. Like, I thought everybody made key plays in that stretch, right? And that's program, right? That's trusting the program. And it's not just one guy. It's multiple guys, and that's what makes it really hard to guard.
When you look at the stats, the anomaly, it's not as surprising if you watch the game. But if I had not watched this game, you had Furman had 10 turnovers. Western had 1 steal. They had 12 turnovers, and you had 10 steals. And, of course, that's sort of more indicative of the nature of the turnovers the two teams made. But it is a very interesting stat.
I thought we played a little bit too excited to start the game, and I thought our guys were ready to play. I thought we were defending pretty well, but left our feet too much and had some really uncharacteristic turnovers. And, we talked about that at halftime. I mean, and they don't force a lot of turnovers with their defense. They pack that thing in the paint, and they just basically say, hey, come on in here. And so, when we had 7.5, I told the team, I said, we got to go play this half with 3 or less. And sure enough, we did. And, I thought that was critical, and we didn't have quite the assist numbers I would like to see. But, at the end of the day, we only shot 19 threes. I think I would love to see a few more assists there. I'd love to see, better than 50% from the free throw line. I thought we left some meat on the bone there for sure. But, the turnovers, you think early in the game we threw that one out of bounds. They had the 2 charges, and then we had a couple launches that we left our feet, I thought, and just looked a little bit too sped up. And I thought once we settled in, we had to make sure we at least got a shot. And, then as the game went on, it went to, hey, we got to get a shot, but we got to get a quality shot. And that's where we had to make some adjustments. And fortunately, we started getting better quality shots there late.
Can you talk about was that the best atmosphere that Furman's had this year, and how much that maybe affected the game down the stretch? You know, it got pretty loud in there with I think 2:56 left.
Yeah, I mean, everybody keeps talking about the crowd. I mean, listen, I mean, this is what we've been building for a long time, and you know, I think this is becoming, you know, hey, Saturday afternoon, Saturday games, like families and kids, and you know, it's a fun thing to do in Greenville now, and that's been part of the vision that we want to have a program that the community wants to support. And, you know, we want this to be about the players. We want this to be about the students. We want this to be about building Furman. And part of that is connecting with our city and putting an opportunity on display that people can drive on this beautiful campus and they can come see it. Players compete. And it's what I told the team this morning. You know, what do fans want to see? They want to see you play really, really hard, and they want to see you play really, really connected. And, you know, we've always talked about that. We want to inspire and through our connection of how we play. We want people to watch and want to come back, you know. And I think you look up in the stands, and there's a good student section up there. There's our supporters, but you got a lot of Greenville people. You know, you got, you know, somebody came over to the house last night to drop one of our kids off, and they said, yeah, we were just at Chick-fil-A and saw some friends, and they said they'd never been to a Furman game, and they were all set to go tomorrow. And, you know, we want to keep building that, and that's the commitment to the facility, right, to have a state-of-the-art facility that the city looks at and says, hey, that's first class. And, you know, we want this to be a packed environment every time we play, and that's what we continue to push. And our administration, Jason, Drew, and everybody that's had a part in that, you know, the top-down alignment of really making sure that, hey, we want this to be an event, right? We want this to be an experience. And I think we've put a lot of work in the last couple of years to see that. And then Ben gets the tip, and the place goes crazy. Marcus gets the three, place erupts. Obviously, JP bangs a shot, the place erupts. And look, it's a game of energy. It's what I told our team when I got on them a little bit, when we were looked like the Western's energy was better than ours. You know, their staff was all up, and their staff was talking. Their players were energetic, and they were playing with good spirit. And you know, they had become the aggressor. And I think a lot of times that's what ends up happening, right? Like, the team that plays the hardest with most energy, a lot of times is going to have a chance to win the game. And, you know, I thought both teams played with incredible spirit for the most of the game today, and the crowd definitely played a part in that.
Coach, I know one of the, as you've often coached us, to one of the least important things is the halftime score. But a lot of times you'll be watching the game, and a team will have an excellent first half, and then they'll have the last shot at the end of the half and be probably their worst possession of the game, it seems like. But the last two games now,
Four games. The last four.
I was going to say, at least I'm old and I couldn't remember before that. But, you know, JP gets the foul at VMI the other night to break that scoreless streak. Gets a beautiful three-pointer tonight, go to halftime, you know, on some momentum.
Yeah, we got the slip play, Versatility right before half for Garrett. We got the reject for JP on the ETSU game. We got the wiper action for JP on the foul at VMI. And tonight I didn't really trick it up. I think I just went up, you know, with a high ball screen there in the middle and let him go make a play, and he did, you know, and that's the advantage of having a player like him, you know. I mean, I think Justin would say the same thing. You got players like Wilbright and, you know, Jackson and Russ and those guys and DJ, like, let them go make plays. And, you know, we want to have our guys in concepts, and we want to be organized in our spacing and our movement. But, you know, sometimes you let your best player go make a play. And, you know, that's what he did right before half there. And, you know, I think those are big momentum plays. You know, I'm a big believer. Like, we practice that stuff. Like, I always have a before half play that I have on my script before the game. And the reason is because you can't be thinking about that stuff on the fly. Like, you got to be ready to go there. And if you can score that, like, it just kind of has a little momentum, right? I think we were up 7, you know, in the ETSU game at half. And, you know, would have been up 5. Well, that didn't sound like a big difference. Like, tonight, we were up 10, we would have been up 7. Well, guess what? We won by 3, right? So that shot mattered. You know, like, that shot, you could argue, could have easily been the difference of the game, 3 points. And so, you know, that's part of the special teams emphasis that we have. You know, late game, side out, base out, before half, in the game. That we practice, and it's really, really critical, because if you can win some of those possessions, it helps you win games.
And just how's Tyrese? Any idea yet?
I haven't even had a chance to talk to Justin. We had everybody in the locker room that went to radio, and then saw my family and came here. I would imagine it's an ankle roll would be my guess. or I would have already known. You know, I know that Alex was getting evaluated and Tyrese was getting evaluated, and you know, JP was cramps, so we'll get him rested up and get him ready. All right, thank y'all.